This is Traffic Jams here on CKUA. I'm Lisa Wilton here with you until 6 o'clock. Edmonton-based singer Dorjay is a favorite here at CKUA. Their debut album, Kind of Outlaw, was one of the most played records of 2020. And earlier this year, Dorjay entered the National Music Centre recording studio to lay down vocals for a couple of tracks, including a cover of So Many Men, So Little Time, a 1983 dance hit by Canadian singer Miquel Brown. The songs will be featured in an upcoming documentary about the legendary 1980s Edmonton nightclub Flashback. Flashback was the Studio 54 of the Canadian prairies and a safe haven for the LGBTQ community and their allies in Edmonton. The documentary is directed by Calgary-based filmmaker Peter Hayes, who used to frequent Flashback. And I'm very happy to welcome Dorjay and Peter to CKUA this afternoon. Hello there.
Hi.
I'm glad you could stop by and talk about these songs and this documentary. I'm going to start with you, Dorjay. Most fans are probably more familiar with your country and roots-leaning music. What were your thoughts, your first thoughts, when you were approached to sing these more dance-oriented tunes?
Yeah, I certainly was flattered. I think anytime as an artist, if you're invited into the creative process for any other artist, I find that just an incredible compliment. And so that was the first thing. Actually, Ian Dillon, who did the production of the tracks, reached out to me, and he had actually been the one to press my album, New Kind of Outlaw, on vinyl. And yeah, had came and saw some performances at Calgary Folk Fest last year, and so that was kind of a really cool connection that way. And then yeah, introducing me to Peter, and just the subject matter of the documentary is incredibly important. Myself as a queer gender nonconforming person living in Alberta, and I really am proud to live in Edmonton and to be from this province as well. So I think all of those things together was just really exciting and humbling to be asked to be a part of, for sure.
Were you familiar with Miquel Brown's original song?
I am sad to say I was not. It's iconic. The lyrics are incredible. But no, this was my first introduction to this song was through Peter and Ian.
Must have been pretty fun to sing it, though.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun to sing. The subject matter was awesome. Myself, I identify as a non-monogamous person. And so there's also this other element of that, of like so many men, so little time, and just feeling very free within, expressing yourself and your relationships with other people. So I had a lot of fun with the subject matter, for sure.
Did you ever go to Flashback, or is that a little before your time?
Flashback was just a little bit before my time. So I just turned 40 this year. I was in the age group that we went to the Roost,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the same street where, or like actually just a street over from where Flashback was. So that was kind of my era, was the Roost. But I did know a little bit about Flashback, and then Peter was able to like fill in all of the history that came along with that. And it's so funny, this weekend I was at Evo Wonder Lounge, which is where Flashback used to be, watching my spouse perform on stage. They did a burlesque act. So it was like a very cool full circle, moment even then, to just think about all the history that's been there and the
Right.
fact that it is still extending to this day, creating that safe space for the queer community.
Mm-hmm. Now, Peter, why did you choose these particular songs, and why are they important to the documentary?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So Many Men, So Little Time was an anthem, was a disco anthem of the gay clubs in the early 80s. Because if you can imagine a young gay man coming from a small place in Alberta, perhaps, and turning up at Flashback and then seeing so many men who were interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
As one person in our documentary says, it was a smorgasbord. So yeah, that was a new thing, and it was a feature of the clubs. But then there's a darker side to the song, in the sense that then when AIDS happened, there weren't so many men, and they didn't have so little time. So we chose this song because we felt that it had two story points that worked in the context of the documentary. And then we were so fortunate that Ian Dillon, who I was introduced to by a friend, and his son Carson, who did the arrangements for us, and who played saxophone and keyboards and other on the songs, that they had seen Dorjay perform. And Carson said, "Well, what about Dorjay?" And Ian's like, "Well, let's make this happen." And so it just all felt very magical when the three families, my family, Dorjay's family, and Ian's family, were all together in Studio A at the National Music Center recording these songs. It was a thrill. It was an absolute thrill to be together there in this very amazing space that we have in Alberta.
So when you heard Dorjay start singing those songs, did you know right away Dorjay was the right voice?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, Dorjay is perfect. She's perfect for this project. And I'm just very privileged and fortunate that we found each other and we're able to work together on this project. It just feels so right. It's great.
Hearing the final products, did it bring you back to dancing at Flashback?
Everything did this year. It's been such a walk into the past for me. And speaking of Evo Wonder Lounge, we shot for 3 days there. We did reenactments. Rob Broski very kindly let us use the space. And so what we did was we put in the old checkered black and white Studio 54 type dance floor and painted flats on the walls and brought in the old very hot lights, the disco lights, and lots of disco balls and so on, and brought in club kids from today, dressed them in 80s clothing and hair and makeup, which means lots of hair and lots of glitter, and kind of showed them how we used to dance, which is a little different from the way they dance now. And so that energy and that youth is infused through scenes in the documentary. So it's so great that we were able to bring today and what we were doing 30, 40 years ago, because when you go into a gay bar, it's the same as it always had. It's a very familiar feeling. It's a feeling of fun and community and togetherness. And when you're in that space is common. And so Evo was perfect as a reminder to me of Flashback. And when we lit up the lights on the dance floor, yeah, I was having a little flashback of my own,
Right.
frankly. Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that a lot of music, not only dance music, but other styles of music, kind of harkening back to 70s and 80s sounds as well. So it's, this So Many Men, So Little Time could be a song that was released today.
I really agree, and I think Dorjay will have more to say about that. But I've got to say that the disco changed uh, changed what happens when we go out on weekends. You could dance with anyone or on your own. Always my favorite dance partner. You could basically enjoy songs in longer form because they started getting into beat looping and extending into this longer 12-inch extended pressing. And so the whole idea was that you could just enjoy being together, and then you had these big sound systems that were just kind of booming through you. And this was a real change from anything that had come before. And that dance culture that continued on into Madonna and all the other things that have come since then, it informs music today, no question about it.
And Dorje, are you a fan of dance music, or was it something new to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of all music. I think that there's, I will find connection in most anything. I think what I love about disco and have certainly been drawn to over the years about that genre is its sense of freedom and freedom of expression and I think expansiveness, right? Like the era of disco came off the late 60s into the 70s where music was a lot more structured. It was a much more cookie cutter, and I think disco really kind of just took us into this new like renaissance of what music could be and really expanding on that. So it was really fun to play and experiment with these songs, especially exactly it. I'm do country and roots leaning music, which I still continue to do and to write and to sing. So that was a cool challenge to be able to jump into this genre and find something there for myself to bring forward in terms of the performance.
Right. Are you working on new music outside of this as well? Are we going to hear a new album soon?
Yes, I am working like painstakingly on the next album. I am so excited. It's it's kind of, I almost am approaching it in some way like a type of an art installation. Just yeah, I'm really really excited about the next project, and hopefully there'll be some new singles out in the spring.
Awesome. That's great to hear. We're just
Yeah.
always wondering, where is Dorjay? We want to hear more
I
music from
know.
her.
I've just been taking a I've just been taking my time, to be honest. I was very surprised at how the amount of exposure my first album got, because I really was unknown, and it was a big learning curve for me. And I didn't expect it, and so I'm just kind of integrating still. And now, yes, I'm hitting the ground running, and new music is absolutely on its way.
Oh, that's brilliant. And Peter, when can we see this documentary?
Well, the documentary will be coming out in the spring, next spring, and we're hoping to premiere it in June in Edmonton, which I know there's a lot of people in Edmonton who will want to see it, but it'll also be available in Calgary, and of course it'll be streaming after that, and we'll keep an eye out for dates for that. But what we wanted to say right now is that we've made a soundtrack, so we made an album. And Ian Dillon, who made Dorjay's album, also pressed this one, and we've got it available on flashbackdocumentary.ca, and also it's streaming on Spotify, and we got it up on through DistroKid, and we're doing all that. We're learning these new things. I never thought I'd be putting an album out, so suddenly that's a new thing on my like got to get that done list, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it's the album now, and other, sort of merchandise to help us sell distribute the film next year, because we're going to take it out on the International Film Festival circuit, and we'll hopefully start Toronto, Vancouver, and then Alberta, and yeah, but we'll put up the schedule for when the film is going to be available in people's local neighborhoods and towns and cities, and hope that everybody gets a chance to see it next year.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Dorjay, for talking to us about these great songs and a little bit about the documentary.
Well,
Thank
thanks.
you, Lisa.
That was Edmonton singer Dorjay and Calgary filmmaker Peter Hayes. You can order Dorjay's versions of So Many Men, So Little Time, and Don't Stop Dancing through distrokid.com. Learn more about the film by following Flashback Documentary on Instagram and Facebook.